Hello, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harping on Rugby, where, with the help of some fellow fans, I get the chance to harp on what's going on with Leinster, Ireland, and the wider rugby world. First up, joining me this week is someone making his 17th appearance. Welcome back to Mr. Jay Long.
Hey Jeff, thanks for having me back.
Indeed, good to have you. And also here, earning cap number 8, is Mr. David Cordial. Hello to you, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. Good to be here.
Great to have you. And so now this brings us to our final thoughts, starting with Jay.
Yeah, just to open on the positives, I guess. Like if we think of this purely as a black box game where we needed a bonus point win to keep the championship hopes alive, job done. It was a bonus point win. On review, I think we could probably say that we didn't we probably weren't fully rewarded for what we managed to create. I mean, the low non-try on the corner, and on a different day, Jack gets some of those kicks. So, you know, it shouldn't have been as hairy as it was. We didn't get the points that we kind of deserved for what we created, but certainly we absolutely didn't create enough. Um, so we didn't get to return on what we did get, and we weren't making enough to begin with, and that's been an ongoing problem, along with the kind of execution and the poor handling and knock-on itis and just overall lack of Christmas that we would have associated with us 2 or 3 seasons ago, where that short passing game, lightning quick kind of recite, that seems to be kind of gone from that. And I don't know, the personnel haven't changed overly, other than maybe perhaps Andy's influence was maybe slightly bigger than we all thought. But I think we'd be lying to ourselves if we didn't think that we've seen hints of these performances coming over the last couple of campaigns. Um, and kind of our attack and quality control in our own possession has really dropped off. It's how panicked we look on the ball is what worries me more than anything else. I think we look really uncomfortable in our attack. Where if you think about it, a couple of seasons ago, that was our thing. We looked dominant on the ball, and that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Um, and I think we've probably seen that coming for a while, both before the Six Nations campaign and even within this tournament. I think the performances have kind of dropped off game on game. Like France were fantastic. I think we can. If we didn't play our best stuff there, but France. They were incredible. They were unstoppable force at times. But if we think of how well we played, in that second half against England, but even then we shot ourselves in the foot a little, given them those losing bonus points at the end. How well we dominated the Scotland game. But if you think about the Scotland game and nearly all the games that we have really struggled to convert and put points on the board with massive amounts of pressure, and that isn't like us, or at least it wasn't like us, and it seems to be in our DNA now that we get held up over the line an awful lot. We spend a long time in their 22 and don't convert. So I think a bit of a reset is needed. I think the summer tour is probably coming in at a good time. I think the coaching ticket need to use that well, because I think we need some new blood in there. The guys hanging up the clogs, which I'll mention in a second, that necessitates some of it. There's going to be there's guys leaving. We need new guys in. But even some of our stalwarts, they look tired. They look, I don't know if it's energy or overtraining or something like that. But you're seeing Porter and James Ryan and even Doris. They're not hitting the numbers in terms of post contact meters gained and ruck successes. Those numbers are slowly slumping off. And it's a tough campaign. Six Nations, you do get tired. But I think the summer tour is a good point to maybe go back and look at the overarching picture of where we want to be when the next World Cup comes around. I think it's a good time for us to start getting into that. Massive congratulations to Peter O'Mahony, Conor Murray, and Cian Healy. Obviously, he didn't play this week, but absolute legends of Irish rugby. It was really, really great to get Furlong back. But overall, I think it's the Six Nations for Andy and Co to review. Um, because I think there's an awful lot to be learned from it. I think it's not overly negative. 4 out of 5, and we were only beaten by hands down the best team in the tournament. That's not an awful place to be. The Triple Crown, as little or as much as people put store into it, a couple of years ago, that would have been something to be celebrated. But absolutely, I think it's a set of performances that Andy will have an awful lot to think about when he gets back into camp, if we want to continue operating at the level that we think we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about finding a balance between, what were very obvious negatives throughout the competition. When you, especially when you compare them to the last 2 years, but you do have to find, you have to see exactly what was different. Like, the success from the last 2 years is the main reason why Andy Farrell isn't with the squad right now. That doesn't put everything on Simon Easterby, but he's coming into a head coach role. It's a big job to step into, especially with all the expectations. There's a new attack coach as well. So there's new systems. They committed to bringing Sam Prendergast in, which, that's a decision they made, and they stuck with it for the first four matches. I still wonder, were they always going to play Jack Crowley against Italy in the final match? I did, we don't know what the reason was for that, but there was a lot. That those are big changes in key areas to Ireland's system when we've got the target on our back for going for the three in a row, and there was a lot going on there. So that is pushed back to the way we ended up playing. Of course, Sam picked up this award, I see today. They've given a new award called the Rising Player. Sam won that in the tournament, so there's that. Whatever,
To unanimous
whatever that
applause,
means.
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I'm sure. Oh yeah, I'm sure every Irish fan is totally delighted and full agreement with that. But listen, I think it is important to push back on all the negativity we've seen. Anyway, what do you think, David?
Yeah, I think it was to have gotten to this stage in the tournament. I've spoken about this on other chats and on the podcast with people about in many ways how similar this tournament was to last year for Ireland in terms of um what we came out of it with, minus the actual result of the overall championship. Like, it was four wins from five, the exact same as last year, and even the tenor of the the pro the progression of the tournament for Ireland was the same as last year. Three wins out the gate, a loss in the fourth round, and an absolute slog in the final game. Like, almost beat for beat, it was very, very, very similar. The key difference was that France and England have both advanced. I think England have been threatening to come good for a while. Last year, I kind of gave them some stick for it, that they were developing a habit for losing games by 1 point. This tournament, they won two games by 1 point. You can turn that around. That's the difference between winning a World Cup and not winning a World Cup, as South Africa would tell you. So, France, I mean, last year France drew with Italy. I think it's easy to forget that. England lost to Scotland. So for England to be able to turn that around and win an extra game, France to be able to turn around and win their extra game, that's what put us down to third. So I think, if we want to talk about not being too panicky about the state of things, that's the angle to take. If we want to talk about the things that we can improve on, I was looking at the tables from this season and last season. Just to look at this season, obviously the top three teams all finished on 4 wins. Ireland are much closer to England and France on points against. So we were within 12 of England, who were within 12 of France, as opposed to Scotland, who were 14 away from us, and then Italy and Wales were considerably worse than that again. But it's points for where we're much closer to the bottom three than to the top of the table, where we're only 20 points ahead of Scotland on points scored. But England are 44 points ahead of us, and France are 83 points ahead of us on that. So in terms of, this was a very high scoring championship. I think it's the most tries ever scored in the Six Nations, 101 tries scored. We weren't really part of that. If you look back at last year, actually our points for, we scored more. If we scored what we scored this year, we would have outscored everyone last year. So I think, but we were within, it was 135 points scored this year, 144 scored last year. So it's drop off, but not by much. The difference is that France and England have advanced. So I think the problem for Ireland in this tournament is that we kind of stayed still. We haven't evolved. We haven't changed. So we're doing the same thing, but others are doing things better. And so I think that's something we're going to have to change. If we want to be able to play with those big dogs, we need to figure out what we're doing. Zach, we need to work that out. And on that, I hadn't realized this was going to be as as far off, but in points conceded, I didn't realize how well we did last season. Last season, we only conceded 60 points, which was less than half of the next team. We only conceded 7 tries over the course of 5 games, which is incredible. This tournament, we doubled that. We conceded 14 tries and 117 points. So I think it was a combination of France and England were off to the races in terms of scoring. We didn't keep up with them there, and we weren't able to maintain the level of defensive discipline that we did last season. So I think the combination of those, when you think about the 2 tries we let in against England, giving them that losing bonus point to put them one ahead of us, the fact that we couldn't get 4 tries over against a resurgent on their day Wales team, but still not a very cohesive Wales team, considering that was the first game they played under Matt Sherratt. And then I think we can kind of give ourselves a pass against France because of just how unbelievably brilliant France were on that day. It was for me, I think overall you could characterize this as a classic competition in a holding pattern. Simon Easterby's not the head coach; he's the interim head coach, and maybe Andy Farrell will come back. We've 2 years to a World Cup. I saw a post from Elma. I can't remember her surname, but she's a South African journalist. Now it was to boost the Welsh team, saying that in 2017, South Africa shipped a massive score against New Zealand, and Siya Kolisi, Damian de Allende, a lot of the winners of the World Cup were in that team. So you can turn things around in 2 years. Ireland have 2 years, but I think the lesson would be the time is now to turn things around. We stayed still from last year to this year, and the result of that was we went from first to third. I don't think we can afford to stay still, particularly when we're losing people like Peter O'Mahony, Cian Healy, and Conor Murray.
Well, that's brilliant. Many thanks to Jay and David for joining me this week. I hope to have you both on again soon. Thanks, lads.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.